Look at the $100 bill in your wallet. Really look at the $100 bill. Touch the texture of the $100 bill. It is just a piece of cotton and linen blend with some green ink smeared on the surface. If you were stranded on a desert island, this piece of paper would be completely useless. You could not eat the $100 bill. You could not use the $100 bill to build a shelter against the rain. You could not even use the $100 bill to start a fire because the Federal Reserve makes the currency flame retardant. Yet, in the civilized world, people will lie for this paper. People will steal for this paper. People will kill their own brothers for this paper. Why does the human race behave this way? Because you believe a lie. You believe that this green paper represents value. But let me tell you a secret. The paper does not represent value. The paper represents debt. Money is the most successful fiction in the history of the human species. Money is a mass hallucination that we all agreed to participate in to avoid killing each other. Imagine a rational alien lands on Earth tomorrow. The alien sees a human walk into a shop. The human picks up a banana, which provides calories and survival value. The human gives the shopkeeper a rectangular piece of plastic. The shopkeeper gives the human the banana. The alien would be confused. Why did the shopkeeper give away real food for a worthless piece of plastic? The answer is faith. Not faith in God. Faith in the Federal Reserve. Faith in the government. Faith that the next guy will be just as delusional as you are. Let us dramatize this insanity with a conversation between a central banker and a hard-working construction worker. The construction worker says, "I worked 50 hours this week. I broke my back laying bricks and building houses. I created real physical value for society. I deserve to be paid." The central banker laughs while sipping expensive champagne. "That is very cute. I just pushed a button on my computer keyboard and created $1 trillion out of thin air. I did not sweat. I did not bleed. I just typed a few zeros." The construction worker looks confused and asks, "But if you print more money, does that mean the money in my pocket is worth less?" The central banker smiles a predatory smile. "The money is only worth less if you notice the theft. Now go back to work so you can pay taxes on the money I just devalued." I mean, this system is rigged against the common man. But the financial system was not always this way. Once upon a time, money was real. Money had weight. Money had sound. If you dropped a gold coin on the floor, the gold coin rang like a bell. Now, money is silent. Money moves through fiber optic cables at the speed of light. And because you cannot see the money moving, you do not notice when the money is being stolen from you. This video is not a history lesson. I am not here to bore you with dates and dead kings. I am here to perform an autopsy. We are going to dissect the rotting corpse of the financial system to find out how the human race went from trading cows to trading invisible digital tokens. I will show you how the bankers turned gold into paper and then turned paper into digital dust. By the end of this video, you will want to burn your wallet, or you will want to buy Bitcoin, probably both. Welcome to the greatest magic trick ever performed, the disappearance of your wealth. Let us travel back in time. Let us go back 10,000 years before the invention of the Federal Reserve, before the invention of credit scores, before the invention of tax audits. You are a caveman. You are hungry. You want to buy a piece of meat. But there is no money. There is no Visa card. There is no Apple Pay. There is only the nightmare known as barter. Barter sounds romantic in history books. In reality, barter was a logistical hell. Barter was not an economic system. Barter was a torture method. To trade in a barter economy, You needed the double coincidence of wants. That is a fancy economic term. It basically means you are screwed unless the stars align perfectly. Imagine the scenario. You are a shoemaker. You make excellent sandals. You are starving and you want a loaf of bread. You walk to the baker. You put your best sandals on the counter. The shoemaker says, "Look at these beautiful sandals. They are made of the finest leather. Give me one loaf of bread." The baker looks at the sandals with disgust. "I do not need sandals. I already have sandals. I need a new chair. My chair broke yesterday." The shoemaker panics. "But I do not make chairs. I make sandals." The baker shrugs his shoulders. "That is your problem. Go find a carpenter. Trade your sandals for a chair. Then bring the chair to me. Then I will give you the bread." The shoemaker screams internally. "By the time I find a carpenter who wants sandals, I will be dead from starvation." This system was inefficient. This system was slow. This system kept the human race living in mud huts for centuries. We needed a solution. We needed a technology that could store value and transport value without rotting. We tried everything. We used seashells. We used salt. We used giant rocks. But eventually, the entire world settled on one specific element: gold. Why gold? Why not iron? Why not copper? Why not uranium? The answer is chemistry. Iron rusts and disappears. If you bury your life savings in iron, 10 years later, you have a pile of red dust. Copper turns green. Uranium kills you. Silver tarnishes. But gold is immortal. Gold is chemically boring. You can bury a gold coin in the mud for 5,000 years. You can dig the gold coin up. You can wash the gold coin off. And the gold coin still shines exactly the same way it did the day it was minted. Gold is the only thing on this planet that conquers time. But the most important feature of gold was not its shine. The most important feature was its difficulty. You cannot print gold. You cannot copy gold with a Xerox machine. To get more gold, you have to find a mine. You have to dig deep into the earth. You have to bleed. You have to sweat. You have to expend real energy. This is called proof of work. Because gold was hard to produce, gold was honest. A king could not just wish for more gold to pay for his wars. The king had to tax the peasants or conquer a neighbor. Gold imposed discipline on the rulers. Gold was a leash on the government. The king says to the general, "I want to invade the neighboring country." The general asks, "Do we have enough gold to pay the soldiers?" The king checks the treasury. "The vault is empty," the general says. "Then we cannot invade." The soldiers will not fight for free. Peace is preserved. Gold was the ultimate truth teller. In a world of liars, thieves, and politicians, gold was the only neutral judge. It did not care about your feelings. It did not care about your ideology. It only cared about weight and purity. But humans are clever apes. We did not like the discipline of gold. We found gold too heavy to carry. We found gold too dangerous to transport. We wanted something lighter. We wanted something easier. And that desire for convenience was the beginning of the end. We were about to trade the truth for a comfortable lie. We were about to invent the bank. Carrying gold was a nightmare. Gold is heavy. Gold is dense. And most importantly, gold attracts knives. If you walked down a dark alley in London in the 17th century carrying a bag of gold coins, you did not walk out. You became a statistic. The people were terrified. They needed a safe place to store their wealth. They needed a vault. Enter the goldsmith. The goldsmith was the only man in town with a steel vault and armed guards. He made a proposition to the people. The goldsmith said, "Give me your gold. I will put it in my safe." I will give you a paper receipt. Whenever you want your gold back, just bring the paper to me, and I will return your coins, the people said. That sounds convenient. Here is my life savings. The people took the paper receipts. They went to the market. They realized something amazing. It was much easier to trade the paper than the gold. A merchant said, I accept this receipt. I trust the goldsmith. This paper is as good as gold. For a while, the system worked. The paper was backed 1-to-1 by the metal. It was honest. But the goldsmith was not honest. The goldsmith was a human being, and human beings are greedy creatures. The goldsmith sat in his office. He looked at the mountain of gold in his vault. He noticed a pattern. The people never came back to retrieve their gold at the same time. On any given day, maybe only one person out of 100 would ask for their coins. The rest of the gold just sat there, collecting dust. Doing nothing, a devilish idea formed in the goldsmith's brain. A light bulb went off. But it was a black light bulb. He thought, why should I only lend out the gold I own? I can lend out paper receipts for gold that does not exist. Nobody will know. As long as everyone does not come back at once, I am rich. This was the moment modern banking was born. It was not born from innovation. It was born from fraud. The goldsmith started printing receipts like a madman. He lent money to the baker. He lent money to the blacksmith. He charged them interest on money that he did not have. He was creating value out of thin air. He was playing God. Let us visualize this conversation between the goldsmith and a borrower. The borrower asks, "Can I borrow 10 gold coins to expand my farm?" The goldsmith smiles. "Certainly. Here are 10 paper receipts worth 10 gold coins." The borrower asks, "Do you actually have the 10 gold coins in the vault to back this up?" The goldsmith lies without blinking. "Of course. Trust me. I am a professional." Suddenly, the town was flooded with paper. Everyone felt rich. The baker expanded his oven. The blacksmith bought new tools. Prices started to rise because there was too much paper, chasing too few goods. This is called inflation. It felt like a party. It felt like an economic boom. But it was a hallucination. The underlying reality had not changed. The amount of gold in the vault remained the same. The pyramid was built on sand. Then the rumors started. A whisper in the marketplace. "I heard the goldsmith does not have the gold." A shout in the tavern. "The receipts are worthless." Panic. Pure, unadulterated panic. The psychology of the crowd shifted instantly from greed to fear. Everyone ran to the goldsmith's shop. They banged on the doors. They screamed for their metal. This is called a bank run. The goldsmith sweated. He opened the vault. It was empty. The mob burned his house down. You would think the government would see this disaster and ban the practice. You would be wrong. The kings and politicians looked at the goldsmith scam and said, "That is brilliant. We should do that, but on a national scale." They did not arrest the goldsmith. They hired him. They institutionalized the fraud. They gave it a fancy name, Fractional Reserve Banking. They created a central bank to be the lender of last resort, to bail out the scammers when the mob came with pitchforks. They legalized the crime. And you have been living inside this crime scene ever since. Fast forward to the 20th century. The bankers and politicians had a problem. The gold standard was annoying. The gold standard was a straitjacket. It prevented the government from buying votes with free money. It prevented the government from fighting endless wars without raising taxes. They needed to break the chains. They needed to commit the ultimate murder, the murder of value. The date was August 15th, 1971. A day that should be remembered as a funeral for your purchasing power. Before this date, the US dollar was still a promise. It was a receipt. If you had $35, you could technically walk into a bank and demand 1 ounce of pure gold. The world trusted the dollar because the world trusted the gold behind it. But the United States had been cheating. They had been printing more dollars than they had gold to pay for the Vietnam War and social programs. They were writing checks their vault could not cash. The French were smart. The French were cynical. Then President Charles de Gaulle looked at the pile of US dollars in France's reserves. He smelled a rat. De Gaulle said, "These dollars are just paper. I want the metal." He sent the French Navy across the Atlantic Ocean to trade his paper dollars for American gold. Other countries saw this. Other countries started lining up. The US gold vault began to drain like a bathtub with a hole in the bottom. President Richard Nixon panicked. He went on national television. He looked into the camera. He did not blink. Nixon said, "I am directing Secretary Connally to suspend temporarily the convertibility of the dollar into gold." Temporarily? That was the lie of the century. In government language, temporarily means forever. In that moment, the tether was cut. The dollar became an orphan. It was no longer backed by gold. It was backed by nothing but the full faith and credit of the United States government. Welcome to the era of fiat currency. Fiat is Latin. It means, let it be done. It means, because I said so. Fiat money has value only because men with guns compel you to use it to pay taxes. It is a system based on violence and coercion. It is a confidence game. And once the politicians realized they could print money without needing to find gold, they went insane. They discovered the infinite glitch. Let me explain the mechanism of how this steals your life. Let us use a simple metaphor, the soup metaphor. Imagine the entire economy as a giant pot of soup. The soup represents all the goods and services in the world. The money represents the salt. If you have a pot of soup and you add the perfect amount of salt, the soup tastes good. Now, I should imagine the government wants more soup for itself. But the government is too lazy to make more soup, create value. So the government just dumps more salt, prints money into the pot. Does the government have more soup? No. Does the soup taste better? No. The soup is now ruined. The soup is salty and inedible. This is inflation. Inflation is not prices going up. That is a lie they tell you on the news. Inflation is the value of your money going down because they poured too much salt into the pot. Let us dramatize the conversation between the saver and the printing press. The saver says, "I worked hard for 40 years. I saved $100,000 under my mattress. I am responsible. I am safe." The central bank computer whirs to life. Beep, boop. I just created $3 trillion to bail out a failed hedge fund managed by my golfing buddy. The saver screams. But that dilutes my savings. My $100,000 can no longer buy a house. It can barely buy a used car. The central bank computer replies, "That is not my problem. That is your problem. You should have invested in assets. Thank you for your donation to the system." This is the hidden mechanism. Every time they print a new dollar, they are stealing a microscopic fraction of value from every existing dollar in your pocket. It is invisible theft. They do not need to come into your house and take your furniture. They just print money, and your furniture becomes less yours. They are siphoning the energy of your labor through the currency itself, and you thank them for it because the stock market went up. The system was designed to fail. It was not a bug. It was a feature. The bankers knew that eventually the debt would become so large that it could never be paid back. But they did not care. They were playing a game of musical chairs with your livelihood. And in 2008, the music stopped. The global financial crisis of 2008 was the mask slipping off the face of the monster. The banks had gambled away the world's economy on toxic subprime mortgages. They were bankrupt. In a capitalist system, they should have died. They should have been wiped out. That is how evolution works. The weak die so the strong can survive. But we do not live in capitalism. We live in socialism for the rich. The government looked at the dying banks and said, "They are too big to fail." So they took your tax money. They took the future earnings of your children, and they gave it to the very people who burned the house down. They printed trillions of dollars to patch the hole in the hull of the Titanic. They called it quantitative easing. That is a polite euphemism for counterfeiting on a galactic scale. But in the shadows, amidst the wreckage of 2008, a ghost was writing code. On January 3rd, 2009, a mysterious figure named Satoshi Nakamoto mined the first block of Bitcoin. This was not just a software launch. This was a protest. Embedded in the code of the very first Bitcoin block was a message. A headline from the Times newspaper: Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Satoshi was sending a message to the future. He was saying, we cannot trust them. We need a new system. Bitcoin is not just magic internet money. Bitcoin is the antivirus to the fiat disease. Fiat money is based on trust. You have to trust the Federal Reserve not to debase the currency. You have to trust the government not to freeze your account. You have to trust the bank not to lose your deposit. But history shows that trust is always violated. Bitcoin is based on verification. It is based on mathematics. Math does not lie. Math does not have a political agenda. Math cannot be bribed by a lobbyist. Here is the fundamental difference that terrifies the establishment. The supply of US dollars is infinite. There is no limit. If they want more, they type more zeros. The supply of Bitcoin is finite. There will only ever be 21 million. Period. No matter how much the politicians scream, no matter how many laws they pass, they cannot create the 21 million in first Bitcoin. It is the first time in the history of the universe that humanity has discovered absolute scarcity. It is harder than gold. You can always mine more gold if you dig deep enough, or mine asteroids. You cannot mine more Bitcoin than the algorithm allows. This leads us to the inevitable conclusion: the crash. Every fiat currency in history has gone to zero. The Roman denarius, the Weimar mark, the Zimbabwean dollar, the Venezuelan bolivar. The average lifespan of a fiat currency is 27 years. The US dollar is living on borrowed time. It is a zombie walking. The debt is rising exponentially. The interest payments on the debt are now higher than the defense budget. They are trapped in a debt spiral. If they stop printing money, the system collapses immediately. Deflationary depression. If they keep printing money, the currency becomes worthless. Hyperinflation. They have chosen option 2. They will print until the dollar is worth less than toilet paper. The crash will not look like a movie. It will not be an explosion. It will be a slow suffocation. You will go to the grocery store. The milk will cost $20. You will go to the gas station. The fuel will cost $100. Your salary will stay the same. You will blame the greedy corporations. You will blame the supply chain. You will blame the war. But the real culprit is the money itself. The ruler you are using to measure value is shrinking. The ship is sinking. The band is still playing. The captain is lying to you. And Bitcoin is the only lifeboat that has a mathematical guarantee of not sinking. The question is not, will the system crash? The question is, where will you be standing when it does? So, here we are, standing at the edge of the financial cliff. You now know the dirty secret. You know that the money in your pocket is melting ice. You know the bankers are playing a game where they win and you lose. You have two choices. Choice number one, you can ignore everything I just said. You can go back to watching cat videos. You can trust the government to take care of you. You can hope that the iceberg will move out of the way of the Titanic. Choice number two, you can wake up. You can realize that no one is coming to save you. You have to save yourself. This channel is not an entertainment channel. This is not a comedy show. This is a survival guide for the late-stage capitalist dystopia. If you want to understand how to build a bunker for your wealth, if you want to understand how to escape the rat race before the cage door closes, then you need to subscribe to this channel. I cannot promise you will become a billionaire, but I can promise you will stop being a victim. Smash the subscribe button. Turn on the notification bell. Because the algorithm does not want you to see this content. The algorithm prefers obedient consumers. Don't be a consumer. Be a contrarian. And you better hurry, because the sequel to this horror movie is already in production. In the next video, I am going to talk about something far worse than inflation. I am going to talk about programmable money. Imagine a world where the government can turn off your money if you buy too much meat. Imagine a world where your savings expire if you do not spend them fast enough. It is not science fiction. It is called CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency. It is coming. And it is going to make the current system look like a paradise. You do not want to miss that warning. Let us end with a philosophical truth. What is money really? Money is not paper. Money is not gold. Money is not code. Money is stored life force. You go to work. You trade your limited time on this earth. You trade your sweat. You trade the moments you could have spent with your children. You trade your life energy in exchange for money. When you save money, you are trying to freeze that time. You are saving your past labor to use in the future. When the government prints money, they are not just devaluing the currency. They are stealing your time. If inflation is 10%, they just stole 10% of the hours you worked last year. They turned your sweat into nothing. They retroactively enslaved you for 1 month out of 12. That is the crime. It is not financial. It is spiritual. They are vampiring the lifeblood of the working class to keep the zombie banking system alive for one more day. Do not let them steal your time. Do not let them steal your life. Convert your melting ice into something solid. Whether it is gold, whether it is land, whether it is Bitcoin, or whether it is your own education, just do not leave it in the paper. Because when the music stops, and it will stop, the only people with chairs will be the ones who brought their own.